We grew up in a household where, being dark skinned was sort of celebrated so much. She was praised for her beauty, and the rest of us were four cousins. The rest of us were sort of light skinned, and it seemed like such a not so great thing. Then we moved into the real world. We came into Cape Town and we moved into sort of a bigger world from a village. And then we realized the opposite was true. What inspired me to write the book is I was in a space where I just felt like I was going through a situation which was not so great, and I wanted to remember that situation on a good note. So moving from that point, I realized that beauty was a thing for me, and I took a sort of life experience of me and my cousin, whom we were raised as sort of twins. I took that life experience and I put it in a book. So we were born around about the same time, days apart. She's dark skinned and I'm light skinned. We grew up in a household where, being dark skinned was sort of celebrated so much. She was praised for her beauty, and the rest of us were four cousins. The rest of us were sort of light skinned, and it seemed like such a not so great thing. Then we moved into the real world. We came into Cape Town and we moved into sort of a bigger world from a village. And then we realized the opposite was true in the world, where what was perceived as beauty was, the light skin, then I realized that it's not so much about what the world recognizes beauty as. It's how we recognize or how we choose to recognize beauty as. As in my household, what was true in the world was not true in my household. So I then realized, what? I wanted to write a book that sort of celebrated all types of Black beauty, to say that my little cousin who has albinism, to look at her fair skin, her blonde hair, to look at herself and say, what? I'm Black and I am beautiful as I am, to look at my dark-skinned cousin, and think, what, this is beauty. My dark skin is beauty. My hair, my kinky hair is beauty. So I just wanted to pour my love out to younger versions of me and my cousin, who will grow up into a world where they think, oh, flip, maybe this is not a standard of beauty that is celebrated. I think what I wanted to, or the message that I wanted to send out was that, number one, in the household for the parents, is that you can instill the image of what beauty is to your children. And so they grow up with knowing that they are beautiful, even when they go into the world, to know that I am beautiful, I am affirmed, but also to the kids that beauty comes in different forms and they should all be celebrated. So yeah, that's basically the book. I chose that school because that school is currently going through a sort of difficult time, a sort of breakdown in terms of staffing, in terms of community. There's so much clash going on there. And for me, when I heard the story, I just felt like, okay, how can we make this better? Or what step can we, or me, what step can I take to contribute on a positive note here? Because after all, I was a past student there, And one of the things that I learned was that kids from my village and the surrounding villages were starting drugs, school wasn't so much of an importance in their lives. They were smoking, and there was this principal. I was told about this principal, this young principal who came into the school, and he's trying so much to sort of get the school back to what it was. And for me, I told myself, you know what, I want to go back. I want to go back to where I started. Who I am right now was a combination of so many things, and that school contributed to who I am right now. And so I went back to the school because I just felt like the message of that book was very vital for those kids, or at least the kids that were still there, hanging on by a thread, the kid that will possibly go into drugs by tomorrow, So when I went into the school, I went in there with the message of, listen, I came from here. If you think that, the government doesn't care about you, your community doesn't care, you're not going anywhere, I want you to look at me and see you, because I was once where you are, If I can become who I am today, you could do the same. So yeah, that's why I went back to that school. It was just, it just had to be done. Go back to your roots, acknowledge, the people that have contributed to what you are, who you are. I went to the school not knowing what I would say, because I tried to prepare and I just couldn't get it. It only hit me when I was sitting there, the message of what I wanted to leave those kids with. And for me, that was a message that I would want to leave with every South African child, in fact, every Black child, And I think just loving yourself is a basic thing. It's a basic thing of loving and honoring yourself. Because from loving yourself and honoring yourself, you are able to sort of invite other things that will sort of propel you to the right path, So, but the bareness of just loving yourself, you attract good things. That's number one. That's important. It's important for kids to love themselves, because love in the Black community has a lot of work, It has a lot of work, or it needs a lot of work still, especially for kids, because there's so much abuse, there's so much, so much social ills. Having faith was key, because I felt as though, you can love yourself, but if you don't have faith that, good things are possible for you, then you will not pursue good things, and just giving yourself a chance. Giving yourself a chance was also important, because I realized that those kids were going through so much, so many South African kids are going through so much, things that we can't even comprehend, sexual abuse, all these things. And it's easy to give up. It's so easy to give up when all odds are sort of against you. So that was also important, just knowing that, to be gentle with yourself. If you fall, if something happens, give yourself another chance. Give yourself another chance. And that leads you ultimately to a path that is greater than where you are currently at. So yeah, that's why it was important for me to say those things, because I just felt as though they needed to hear. It's not something out of them that will get them out of where they are, but it's just key, simple beliefs within them. There's a book that's been in my heart, but I didn't want to release it, because I just felt like so many things that I had shared in the book were so sensitive and so vital in other people's lives, and I just didn't want, that, rocking that boat, And today I just had an idea of how I can share the same message and not, involve other people into the story. So definitely a second book, which was actually my first book, but I'll just revise that. And currently I'm working with, I won't say the company, but I'm working on sort of getting funding for Kinina Africa. So I'm excited about this program that I'm going on to. I really want to see Kinina Africa in stores, in big retail stores. So that's what's next. somehow I'm gonna make it happen.